I'm Michelle Shingler, the editor-in-chief of Foreword Reviews. You're tuning into Petit Foreword, our bite-sized interviews with indie authors. Today we have the honor of speaking with Gary Hart, a statesman, former senator and presidential candidate, and political scholar whose new book, The American Republic Can Save American Democracy, released on September 6th. It's an erudite text that elucidates the urgent political and social challenges facing the U.S. Senator Hart, thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you very much. I am, first of all, grateful to Foreword Reviews for the review and for this opportunity to discuss it.
So in the book, you discuss civic duty and contemporary moves away from instilling a sense of that duty in our citizens. Beyond voting, what can people who want to fulfill their civic duties do as a first step?
Well, first of all, let's discuss the Republic. Our founders, 250 years ago almost, created a republic. We salute the flag of the United States and the republic for which it stands. And of course, most Americans, if asked, what form of government do we have, would say a democracy. Well, this was an issue of this debate among the founders. And of course, Thomas Jefferson came forward to say, we are a democratic republic, but nevertheless a republic. So the question is, why can a republic save democracy? Well, we all know from the discourse going on, both in political and academic circles, but more and more in citizen circles, that there is deepening concern about the practice of democracy in America and the forces at work. I summarize them as authoritarian that seek to take away the guarantees of liberty and freedom guaranteed by a democracy. The Republic, just to illustrate, when asked what the founders were creating, we all know that Benjamin Franklin said, a republic if you can keep it. Now, what did he mean? He meant what those people and those for centuries before them called civic virtue. Today, we would call that citizen duty. And so if I were to summarize this, what seems to be a complicated formula, but it isn't, I would use one word, duty, citizen duty. We used to teach in public schools civics, and that not only explained to high school students and college students what form of how our government operated, but why it operated the way it did, and to challenge young people when they came of voting age and participating age to participate in the public life of their country. And that can take the form of what we call public service for those of us who sought public office or hold public office, but it also means everyday Americans being involved in their communities, their states, and the nation.
You also discussed January 6th as a watershed date in American history. Why have responses to its troubling events been so anemic, and what can be done to correct course?
Well, the response, if I may say so, certainly by most members of Congress, not all, and most journalists, though not all, has been profound. I mean, it has been, there are enough people that understand what a mob taking over the citadel of democracy, the capital of the United States, and seeking to destroy it and possibly even kill members of Congress and the vice president is pretty serious. And I think for those who got it, if you will, that's going to stay with us the rest of our lives. I mean, I watched the footage. I saw people sitting at the desk that I occupied for 12 years in the United States Senate, opening up the desk, looking through the papers in there, and a lot worse things went on that have not been discussed. It was an insurrection. It was a radical effort to interfere with the operations, the constitutional operations of the government of the United States. That's an insurrection, and it's treasonous. So I think there are concentric circles, people on the inside who practice government daily. They understood. The press around them, they certainly understood, most of them, or cared about it. And then academics and a wider audience that know American history, know our form of government, they got it as well. So it's when you reach everyday Americans that maybe they did not understand the implications of this. And I think that's where the lack is. And it's those everyday Americans that my modest little book is addressed to. You have a duty to pay attention, and the more serious the issue that we're facing at home and abroad, the more seriously you have to take it. Now, your original question was how, to a degree. Everything from book clubs and local community exchanges, city council meetings, county commission meetings, up to the state government, what's going on in the state legislature, what major issues does my state of Colorado or any other state face? And instead of turning on the telly and avoiding it all, people are going to have to start paying attention, because for the first time in this country's history, our future is at stake.
So your book also raises the alarm about creeping authoritarianism in the US. What do you wish average citizens better understood about that threat?
Well, almost everything. I mean, the irony of our situation, as you know, is that we have more information now than at any time in human history, certainly American history. So the information is out there. The man or woman on the street cannot say, I don't know what's going on. It's all out there. Now, the bad part of that is what's out there isn't always factually true. And here is once again citizen duty. You have to separate what is propaganda, what is ideological preaching, from real civics, real day-to-day operation of our government at all levels, national, state, and local. And that's where the duty comes in, because it means finding printed material you can trust, and that's not always easy, but it becomes pretty apparent what's truth and what's propaganda. And in recent years, we've had an awful lot of propaganda, which isn't truth. So that's a duty of the citizen. Then talking to others, some that agree with you and some that don't, about what you have learned, forcing the conversation out of rhetoric and slogans to facts. And that's becoming an increasingly difficult but important step to take. And that's called what today we would call participation, involvement. And and so forth. People know how to do that. It's just taking the time and trouble to do so.
If you could give the two major parties, party leadership, one piece of advice that they should heed now to help preserve the American Republic, what would you say to them?
Well, it's pretty obvious for most of them, or they wouldn't be in positions of leadership. But once again, always tell the truth, even when it isn't comfortable for your party. Be honest. People, part of the reason everyday Americans tune out is because they, in too many cases, don't believe what they're hearing. So I would summarize that by saying recapture trust for the political leaders in the party and in elective office. Recapture trust. The only way to do that is tell the truth. And years ago when I was in office, elective office for 12 years, and I stood before a group of constituents, I would say, here's where I stand and why I stand here. Let me tell you what the other side of this argument is and give the other side so that people understood they weren't just listening to a candidate for office or a partisan who only cared about his own party, but wanted to educate them. I always saw my job as being an educator, learning in Washington, coming back to Colorado or wherever, and sharing what I had learned.
So we're looking ahead to Election Day 2022, and we're watching close races with both trepidation and hope. What is your message to prospective voters around the nation?
Pay attention, learn as much as you can, vote. First of all, vote. We are fond of telling ourselves that we have sacrificed the lives of hundreds of thousands of Americans in uniform for the opportunity to vote, and then we don't vote. 60% of eligible voters voting for president of the United States isn't nearly good enough. People here and abroad, in Ukraine right now, and a lot of other countries are risking and giving their lives simply so they can select their leadership. And we shouldn't take that for granted. So take the job of citizenship seriously. That's the best advice I can give.
Absolutely, that's great advice. Senator Hart, thank you again for speaking with us. To our audience, The American Republic Can Save American Democracy is available in bookstores today. Be sure to get your copy. It's a very important book.
Thank you, and thank Foreword Reviews. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.